everyone, welcome back to my channel. My channel's about a year old now, and even though I'm still a rookie and have a long way to go before I can get monetized, I'm starting to establish quite the presence here on YouTube. If you've been subscribed to me since the beginning, you might remember that one of the first videos I posted was a two-parter about the history and evolution of Disney Channel, which eventually came to serve as the inaugural installment of my History and Evolution series. So I figured it would be appropriate to do another video essay chronicling the development of yet another popular children's television network and a competitor of Disney, Nickelodeon. Like my Disney Channel video, this video will be broken up into two parts since the long history and evolution of Nickelodeon is too much to fit into just one video. Today, I'm going to talk about how Nickelodeon all began and what it consisted of before the turn of the millennium. Now let's get started. The concept of Nickelodeon all started with early childhood teacher and media research director Dr. Vivian Horner, who created the channel's first original series, Pinwheel. The education program aimed at preschool children was part of the Columbus-launched cable program Cube and served as a stepping stone towards Horner's ultimate dream of creating a full channel for national television. On April 1st, 1979, Nickelodeon was officially launched on Warner Cable franchises all across America. The channel's name refers to early 20th century 5-cent movie theaters of the same name. In addition to continuing Pinwheel, Nickelodeon's original programming included Cube original shows such as Video Comic Book, America Goes Bananas, Nickel Flicks, and By the Way. At this time, when Nickelodeon was intended to be a commercial-free television service, a male mime portrayed by Jonathan Schwartz would do tricks in front of a black background in interstitials between programs. 1980, the year after Nickelodeon's original launch, is known today as the Cy Schneider or Green Vegetable Area. Shows that aired on Nickelodeon in this era weren't necessarily liked by the children they were targeted to, but they were wholesome enough for their parents to approve of. Such shows included Dusty's Treehouse, Special Delivery, and Livewire. Nickelodeon's first hit series was Canadian sketch comedy series You Can't Do That on Television, which made its American premiere on Nickelodeon in 1981. It was from that show that the green slime commonly associated with Nickelodeon to this day originated. In April 1981, Nickelodeon changed its logo to a more colorful font, and the channel's daily programming lasted 13 hours from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time. The channel had also begun airing programs such as The Third Eye and Mr. Wizard's World. But none of these shows or advertising tactics seemed to be working. They stagnated viewership, ranking very low on cable network lists, and Nickelodeon had lost $10 million in operating costs by 1984. It seemed like all hope was lost for the network, but Fred Sieber and Alan Goodman can be credited with saving the network by rebranding it and leading it into what is known today as its golden age. These two men, through their company known as Fred Allen Incorporated, designed a version of the Nickelodeon logo that is more familiar to this generation, written in orange balloon font, which also included a variant with the channel name written in white balloon font against the backdrop of that familiar orange splat. Although it had been considered this for many years, it was in this year, 1984, that Nickelodeon began promoting itself as the first kids network, since it was the first American television channel that specialized in programming aimed at children, both very young and slightly older. You know how I said earlier that Nickelodeon aired its kids programs from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the 80s? Well, around 1985, Nickelodeon had become a 24-hour channel and needed something to air between 9 p.m. and 8 a.m. Thus, Geraldine Laybourne developed what we all know as Nick at Night, which would air classic television aimed at older audiences between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. In 1988, the first of Nickelodeon's infamous Kids' Choice Awards were aired, though this awards show was originally known as The Big Ballot. You know Pinwheel and other educational shows that aired on Nickelodeon in its early days? Well, another thing that happened in 1988 was that the weekday morning block, Nick Jr., was created to air reruns of these shows, as well as airing all kinds of new shows designed for preschoolers. It wasn't until August 1991 that Nickelodeon started airing original programming rather than only airing reruns of external programs. Said original series would be grouped into a category called Nicktoons and would consist of Doug, Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy originally. At one point, the latter of these would become the most popular series on cable TV. In 1995, Nickelodeon would begin to air its fourth Nicktoon, Rocko's Modern Life. The concept for this show came from an unpublished comic book creator Joe Murray had drafted, and the show itself centers around the titular Australian wallaby and his friends Heifer Wolf, Filbert, and Rocco's dog Spunky, who live in the fictional town of O-Town. Like Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life was controversial for being a children's show that used adult humor, double entendre, and satirical social commentary. In 1992, Nickelodeon launched a primetime block called Snick, which would eventually become what is known as Teen Nick in 2004, whose window lasted from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific Standard Time. Snick produced such series as Are You Afraid of the Dark, The Amanda Show, All That, and Kenan and Kel. All That is notable for launching the careers of actors such as Kenan Thompson, Amanda Bynes, and Jamie Lynn Spears. Beginning in 1996, Herb Scannell succeeded Geraldine Laybourne as president of Nickelodeon. That same year, Nickelodeon released its first feature film, a screen adaptation of the Louise Hetty novel, Harriet the Spy. Following the success of that film, Nickelodeon released its second feature film, The Rugrats Movie, which became the first non-Disney movie to gross more than $100 million in the U.S. In 1998, Nickelodeon launched a Kids Thinking channel targeted to children between the ages of 6 and 12 called Noggin, with the help of Sesame Workshop, an educational channel whose name refers to a slang term for the brain. Noggin would air programming from both Sesame Workshop and Nickelodeon's archive libraries. In 1999, Nickelodeon began airing one of its defining series to date, SpongeBob SquarePants. The show didn't take long to become the most popular Nicktoon in history, eventually generating over $13 billion in merchandising revenue for Nickelodeon. Thank you all so much for watching. Of course, these are only Nickelodeon's beginnings. There's been so much more history ever since, but to do all that in one video would just make the video too long. But if you're still here, answer me this in the comments. Where does the name Nickelodeon originally come from? If you need to review, you can go back to the initial launch and first decade section, which you can click on in the sections part of the description. Either way, look out for the second part of this video essay, in which I discuss how Nickelodeon has evolved since the beginning of SpongeBob. Hope to see you then!